By the way, we just got a comment from somebody from, I think, from Russia, Saratov, Russia. That's great. Welcome. Добро пожаловать. And let's have some fun. I guess if you guys wanted a video in Russian, we could do that. I have no problems with that. My vocabulary, especially about technical things, isn't really great, but I could always ask my wife to help. She may or may not be up for that. So now I'm focusing right here on this bulb, very close to the terminal end where it's pinched. And I'm going to try not to overheat it, just to heat it enough to the point where we can start to bend it. Which is, since it's such a small area, it's going to be really soon, I have a feeling. Yep, see, it's already soft. I can bend it, but see how it's going to crease. So I want to heat a little lower. I'm going to turn the intensity of the heat down, just since we've already reached the right temperature on that spot that we're working on. We don't want to waste our efforts in flattening by puffing it back up or by damaging the pipe at this point. Yeah, this creates such cool opportunities when you make a bow like this. There's so many cool things you could do. And I can't show them all to you this minute, but I will do some of them later, I promise. Great. Okay, so that's still not what I want it to be, but take a look at it from the side. Once the tips are recurved, this is going to be adequate, I think. So other ways you could make this a little bit better, and I may do these before we're done. I'm going to recurve the other limb, and then we'll see where we're at. What you could do is add more reflex in the handle, because again, the handle's not going to bend. This doesn't matter how much reflex you have. That will only shorten the riser. Right now we have effectively 20-inch long riser. That's pretty good. All right, that's fantastic. Looks very cool. And when it's done, I will come back and show you. So we're going from an M to a cursive M. This is all about alphabet archery. See ya soon, guys. Alright, YouTube, here we are. Welcome back. Now, at this stage, the one defect that I have is I didn't angle them equally. This one, you can see, has a nice sharp... It's about perpendicular to the axis of the handle, which should be, you know, up and down like this. So, this one is not quite as sharp. I could go back and I could reheat this section specifically to bend it forward, but since we are going to be basically just modifying the limbs, flattening them and doing all that anyway, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So let's get a board such as, say, this poplar or oak board. This will do nicely, just about the right shape and size. And let's heat the limb. You don't want to heat it all the way from the end. You want to start at least where it hits full diameter. So say about here. That's, call it 1.5 inches, 2 inches into the limb. Excuse me. Yeah. And we can always tweak it later if we do change our minds and we want to angle it a little differently up front. I don't think it's going to ultimately be a big deal though, since we're going to be doing so much more to it. While the second crimp was setting, I went and I corrected the straightness of it. And since the handle section is nice and round, you can just heat it and twist it, and the handle stays exactly the same. Aside from some very minor necking when you're only making a few degree turn. But when you're talking about, a 20-inch long limb, you notice those even a few degrees. Misalignments like that should be nipped in the bud as soon as possible. Since this is a fairly short limb segment, it should only take about 2 minutes tops to heat. And likewise, I'll show you one, I won't show you both. Man, I am really tearing up the aluminum surface of this channel. I'm going to have to go and recoat it, but I do that every, say, 3 months anyway. I picked up a surprise at the hardware store, but I'm not going to show that to you guys quite yet. All I can say is it's spring-loaded and ready to maybe not do what you think it might do if you knew what I had been thinking, if that makes any sense, which I kind of hope it doesn't. But I promise, you guys are going to love it. And gals. YouTube says 13% of you are ladies. That's excellent. This is definitely one of the most awkward builds that I've ever done. But I think because of it, it's also going to be one of the most satisfying. You could definitely do it in a different order. Flattening the limbs first might be easier. In fact, it probably would be. So with any luck, I will be traveling a little bit later, not out of the country, but out of my hometown Kansas City area, to another area where I'll be taking some very cool videos and sharing them with you. I have every intention of sharing everything I do on the trip with you. It's just a day trip, but I think you'll find it very interesting, if you like archery. If you don't, then heck, what are you doing here, right? Okay, we're almost there. I'm honestly not sure what's taking so long, except for the fact that I have to do this in the air most of the time. And it is kind of chilly and windy outside. What, windy in Kansas? Never heard of such a thing. This should be adequate. Okay, I'm going to set this down. We're going to move this over to here. And we're going to flatten it like so. Again, extremely awkward. Because basically I'm just going to have to sit on the darn thing. Or, if I was really clever, which I sometimes am, there's the extra hand I needed. But I will still sit on it because I really want the front to be flat. Or very near flat. The tip, I mean. Okay, we're doing great here. I mean, this is definitely a lengthy process. And you really could stop with the core, like I said. Cut these sections off and then make limbs separate and later. That would work beautifully. But this is the way I'm doing it today. Not the only way that it needs to be done. Okay, so now I'm just keeping it all aligned until it's cool, and then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Once that's done, we'll have a bow, or at least what's ready to be turned into a bow. Because it's certainly not a bow yet. Once the limbs are flattened, we're going to go ahead and recurve them fairly intensely, like recurved bow limbs on a modern recurve bow. That's really what we want them to look like. And in a lot of ways, this is a lot like a modern recurve bow with a riser, this hefty middle section. If you wanted, you probably don't even need the reinforcement that's ultimately coming, but I think that would be a mistake. So if you're feeling up to it, try doing it this way. Otherwise, there are easier ways to make a bow like this. Although you could do some other cool stuff with a bridge like this. If you can see this section. You see? Yeah. This kind of a bridge, right? Well, I'm going to reinforce it. But there are plenty of other things you could do to it. Just use your imagination, and I might get to some of those ideas later. Maybe with this same experimental bow. Who knows? Okay, we're going to take this off now. start to reflex it. Cross my knee if possible. It's pretty well set. Okay, so that'll have to wait for later. But it was heated enough to where I could still correct for alignment. And that's good. Okay, so there we go. Hefty, but tapered. And remember, short, stout limbs, that's a very good reason why you can get some. Alright, YouTube, here we are. Each of the tips has been curved. Now that leaves a fairly straight last, say, 6 or 7 inch section on each side. What we're going to do is gently heat that and recurve it around the pot. Simple enough, right? Let's start with one limb and then move to the other. Turning the heat down. And again, I'm doing 6 inches on each side. You know, as far as bows go, this may be more technical, require more little tweaks and changes, but it's actually a very simple bow. If you made it in several sections and then assembled it, I think this would be extremely quick and easy to make. You could probably make several a day if you wanted to. So still slow compared to most of the other styles of bow we're doing, but quite rapid in comparison with, I don't know, making it from scratch out of wooden fiberglass. Okay. Great. This is enough. So now, the reason I took my coat off was to use it in lieu of gloves. Set this down, set this down, bend it on, and press. Great. Yeah, this is looking fantastic. I think you guys are going to like it. And the finished bow is going to be interesting, to say the least. Whether or not it will shoot well, I sure can't say. But the cool thing is, whether or not it does, it's adjustable. It will be something that we can play with and do a lot of neat things to. Okay. I'd be surprised if that wasn't just about set. Just about. Okay. So there's the recurve. I might even go in and add a little bit more curvature to it, just even that. See how it's a little straight there? I might go and just curve that up, take these bumps here, smooth them out. That's not super critical. I'm not really concerned with little things like that. I'm concerned with, does it function? And the answer is going to be yes, it'll function just fine. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, make my little tweaks, and show you guys the end product. So check back. Welcome back, YouTube. Tim here, and we've got essentially the finished bow. Here it is, shaped with the reinforcing bar. This was a 24-inch long piece of Schedule 40 PVC, 3/4 inch diameter. Now I wanted to fit it on the inside on both sides, but that wasn't going to happen. So what I did instead was I put this on the outside because it curves that way, and this on the inside because it just supports it. It seems to work pretty well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it around the sides, and then I'm going to drill through all three, or three thicknesses at once. I then have bolts, washers, and all this good stuff that I'm going to use to basically hold it together, along with just a light amount of glue, which is really just to pad, contain, and keep everything nice and organized. But once that's all together, we can get to cutting nocks, stringing, and shooting, so this is going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned. Hello, YouTube. Alright, here we are with the basically finished bow. This is the finished profile and shape, and everything's pretty good. I might change things, and I still have other work to do. But for the moment, this is almost ready, and it actually might be usable. The only thing is, this hasn't really been attached. All I've done is, I put it in the right spot that I wanted it, and I sealed it around the edges with glue to hold it in position. I also added a little bit of glue for padding in here, just to try and hold that together a little better. What I then did was, I took a drill bit, and I drilled a hole. I'm going to put a bolt through there, washers, and just lock it into position. It should be okay. I don't anticipate any great problems with that. But now, I had a too small bit, so what I had to do is use a file to go ahead and get it up to the right diameter, which is 3/8 of an inch. That's what I was going to use. So right now, I actually have the right bit. Well, at least it's a bit, and it is 3/8 of an inch. I don't know if it is the right bit. Come on, I mean, this sort of thing is really not where I'm all that good. Tools and things like that. But basically, if I drill here, like so, all should be well. Let's give it a shot. Okay, it's trying to walk. Let's see if we can't get a better position on this. Nice solid grip. It's not going to go through so quickly that I have to worry about hitting my hand through it, but it could slip off the edge. I do want to be able to push down hard enough so that it doesn't start walking, though. Okay. Right there. Start slow. Yeah, believe it or not, it is actually making progress. Not as much as I'd like. Strangely, the other bit was better. This might be more of a masonry bit. I can't tell, but it will do the trick. It will cut through for sure. Just a matter of giving it a moment or two to actually do the job. Through and through. Daylight seen through the other side. Okay, so definitely that was way preferable to doing it the other way with a wrong sized bit. and then filing it to finish. It worked, but it was painful. It took me about 20 minutes of finagling, and the end result was no better than what we got just now. So I'm very pleased with this. Gonna have to go and clean that, get that all set. But now, let's just see how it fits, how it all fits together. Okay, so these were the 3/8 inch, 1.5 inch long by 3/8 inch screws. I think it was 16 threads per inch, something like that. And the matching nuts. I have washers, which I thought to use. Whether or not it's useful, I don't know. They don't actually fit on the inside of the other limb, so that could be a problem. For now, let's just go ahead and assemble it as we can. I have one of these locking thing. I'm not sure exactly if that's necessary, but what the heck? Can't hurt, right? Or maybe it can, but I don't see how. Should just provide a little tension between the washer and the nut. I'll go get a ratchet later to tighten that more than hand tight, but that's basically all we wanted. Yeah, it's looking good. Now the other limb. Here it is. Here are all our other parts. Let's stick that through. The washer, the lock, and the nut. So again, just a hand tight. And there you go. Now, this thing here, it's wedging against itself. It's not trying to pull itself off. It's also glued together. And now, any little bit of remaining give should be gone. This is an extremely rigid handle, because now if this were a single piece of PVC, it would have a tendency to bend. This is not going to bend because it's so much wider. The thicker, rather not wide, but the thicker something is, the stiffer it is. The stiffness goes up with the cube of the thickness and proportional to the width. So this thing is, even though it's only 3/4 inch pipe here, this is adding a tremendous amount of rigidity to this handle section. So I think I'm ready to go ahead and disassemble it. What I'm going to do is flood the threads with glue before I put it in, and then I'm going to cut nocks and we can play around with this. But this is a project that I'm excited to see come to fruition. I may end up adding more recurve in this section. As it is, I think we will have, there's about 4.5 inches of deflex without the string. However, the limbs are extremely short and they don't have a huge amount of, well, there's not a lot of space to go. So this will be very interesting to see what happens when it's strung and drawn. But I'm just dying to try it. And in future models, I'd also like to try and put an arrow shelf into here. Also would be fun. Just food for thought. So I hope you've enjoyed this build along. This is where I'm going to terminate this end. I will show you the actual shooting of it, but you know how to put on nocks. You know how to tighten bolts, so I don't feel I really need to go over stuff like that too much. And the proof will be in the pudding and the shooting. So we'll have fun doing that, won't we now? Thanks for watching, YouTube. I value each and every one of your comments. Thanks for subscribing. It's definitely helpful. This is a lot of fun, and I am hoping you guys enjoy it too. See ya.